before I forget, similar to the phrase, there's nothing new under the sun, like there's nothing ever new presented, how that could possibly be misinterpretation or just part of the meaning. Nothing new under the sun, that's because what's new, the energy through what's, say, tomorrow, and even right now, comes from the sun. So when someone asks, how are you? You could say by way of the sun. So, anyways, another one popped up to me recently. History repeats itself. Right? History repeats itself. Now, what everyone thinks and believes they know is somewhat true, but it's like the ocean. I've seen many flat days, but never exactly that. But history repeats itself. It's like the priests in the church just tell the same story over and over and over again to pound it into your Golgotha, right? So I think that's really what it means. History repeats itself. They have to keep on telling you the bullshit so that way you believe it. You know, Zarathustra, the book Zarathustra, said something about if something's required to be believed, then it's probably just absurd bullshit. So history repeats itself. I think that more means like the preacher who goes over the same thing over and over again, so that way you wind up believing it. But even it rhyming, say the future will have something like World War II and World War I or whatever. Even if that was the case, I don't think it's the case any longer, because his story is not the past. That's why we don't call it the past, we call it his story. And his story, who is he? It's the old God, the source of the Abrahamic whatever, the afflictor, who is upset with his supposed creations that are supposedly created to be just like him, and he's got a bunch of weird fetishes, and he becomes angry with his victims. He blames his victims for his bizarre behavior. Anyways, that old ideal, that concept, I mean, it took a while, but Nietzsche was right. That focal point it's not there anymore, really. Some people are still trying to hold on to it. That's the way they're coping with it. Some people, lately the government became their focal point, where they just do whatever. Or Bill Gates became their focal point, right? But that is no longer. Nietzsche is right. Like the Christianity destroyed itself. The seeds of destruction destroyed itself. The concept of truth, right? Seek and you shall find. And people seeked. And now, like, once you're on the other side, you're like, yeah, that's just absurd in pretty much every single way. But the concept of truth, people seek the truth, and it's like, okay, this isn't really looking that true. That old ideal is slipping more and more away each day. It's the madman parable by Nietzsche. God is dead. God remains dead. And we have killed him. How is it that we drank up the entire sea? Who gave us a sponge to wipe away the horizon? Are we not moving backwards and forwards in infinite directions? Isn't every day more darker? Must we have a lantern to go outside in the morning? That ideal, that focal point is no longer around. So the concept of his story repeating itself in the way that you more likely was believing like everyone else, even if that was true, I don't think it's going to repeat itself anymore. What's ahead, probably nobody knows. And get interesting. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. Remember, every disaster is an opportunity in disguise. When you pity, you amplify the suffering. A lot of people, they look for attention. Some people, like, they do drugs or alcohol and like really fuck up their lives because it gets everyone that they know, their loved ones, all riled up and focus on them. It's negative attention, but it's still attention. Like little kids do that stuff too or whatever. Anyways, get off topic. Nothing new under the sun, because the sun is what brings what's new. And history, I really don't think is going to repeat itself. I don't think it necessarily did what you were thinking before. History is not the past. And the concept of that God, it was BS. I mean, we create the gods. So like, say Venus, she's like God of love and all that stuff, whatever. There is like say an entity, and then stars, whatever too. But it comes from our experiences. That's what, like in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he was saying. He called the biblical God a new God, but he was also old and a Jew. And he had killed all the other gods with the most ungodly statement a God ever uttered. I am the one and only God. And that made some guy with a small dick, because that's what that is. All that noise is letting everyone know that he's got a small dick. But yeah, he made the most ungodly statement to the other gods, and they laughed themselves to death. And the statement was, I am the one and only God. And they laughed and laughed, and they said, isn't it not just divinity that there are gods but no God? Anyways, I'm at the Sutra, Kava Sutra. Later.